Yo, what's happening, everybody? This is Elliot after your guided mentor, back with a brand new video. Today is an important topic because I want to talk about something that we've been facing with the credit reporting agencies for a very long time, and that's the concept of them not responding on time. This is important because I've seen my own customers go through a sense of difficulty when it comes to trying to get the credit bureaus to pay attention to your documents, trying to get the credit bureaus to respond to you on time so that you can get those negative, dreaded, bad items off your credit reports. Number one, to probably qualify for some sort of financing, whether it be for a house, for some credit cards, or perhaps you need some sort of financial leverage at the moment because of due to COVID and or the current financial economic circumstances. Whatever the case, no matter what it is, the most important thing for us in today's discussion is how to get the credit reporting agencies to, number one, comply, and two, to make sure that they do respond on time with the results and the desired outcomes that you're seeking, rather than just some generic, non-specific type of response. Because I've seen a lot of people get some generic responses, and quite frankly, it's come to a point where it doesn't do anything for us, right? It doesn't solve our problem. It's delaying the inevitable, and it's actually hurting our ability to go out there and get the credit that we need. So today, in today's video, I'm going to help you break down some of the specifics when it comes to dealing with these credit reporting agencies. So let's get started. So to begin, I wanted to tell you that, obviously when you're dealing with credit reporting agencies, the usual timeline that we give the credit bureaus to respond is anywhere between, and the 45-day mark usually comes when we have additional information that you've added to your disputes and or challenges. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people, send information out, and then in the middle of like that whole process, they figure out, oh my God, I forgot to attach this or attach that. And then they send the additional information, and now the credit bureaus have to go through and basically allow themselves a little bit more time to do what's necessary in order to investigate the items properly. So there is a rule on that, right? So if you add additional information to the existing challenge and or disputes that you're sending off, the credit bureaus have the right to get an additional 15 additional days added to the timeline of the investigation so they can get back to you. So that is a very quite normal thing. So don't be alarmed or surprised if they take an extra 15 days. Now, it has happened that you don't send additional information and you send the disputes, and what happens now is they're taking their sweet time and they're using that extra 15 days saying, hey, look, we need more time to investigate. Now, here's the thing. It is true that if they notify you that they need a little bit more time, that's permissible, right? So it's just letting you know, hey, look, we have to take care of this the proper way so that we don't rush. We need to investigate. And it's been proven again and again that they are allowed to do that as long as they notify you. However, a generic response and or stall tactics is quite common. So you're going to get something like, hey, we don't recognize this dispute. We don't think it was sent from you, or something like that. And on times of also, additional things that I've seen the credit reporting agencies do to customers is say, hey, if you want to dispute all this type of stuff, contact us. Or they just give you one-page document stating that you can just give them a call if you want to resolve it. And the reality is that's actually a trap that you don't want to fall into, because if you do call them, they're going to ask you to either file a dispute online, which you don't want to do, and or just give them a call and go through the generic eOscar system that doesn't really help you out at all. So obviously you don't want to fall for that trap. So if they get those type of documents, number one, it's a violation of the FCRA because they fail to respond. What do we say? Again, within the 30 to 45 day timeline. And number two, it's a death trap. It's basically a trap trying to put you in a position that you can actually generically dispute online, and they have a free-for-all to say we never got your dispute if you ever decide to sue. And in my live stream, we decided to discuss something that was very important, and this topic was, look, from day one, when you go ahead and challenge the credit reporting agencies, when you try to fight them, from day one, you got to do it as though your intent is to sue them down the road. You got to do it as though you're preparing a file to give it to a lawyer so that they can crush the other side, crush your opponent. And to do this, you need all the evidences that you can possibly stack against them. You need evidence of their wrongdoing so you can clearly document that. You need evidence of your report and how misleading and inaccurate, and of course how judgmental it is, because your ability to borrow is being triggered by this stupid report that's not really accurately depicting your character, and that's injury, and that's basically defamation in general. So those two things are necessary when it comes to preparing a suit, but also you need to strategically attack them. The more specific you are, the higher the chance of getting the best outcomes, but also the more weight you have and more substance you have if ultimately you do decide to sue. So that's one of those things that I discussed on my live stream that I think is very important. Now, let's assume that they haven't really responded to you, even though you've done everything in your power to write the document the proper way, that you've labeled out all the information that you can possibly label. You've specified exactly what are some of the wrongdoings on the credit report, because that's where it all starts. But let's assume they take their sweet time and they don't really respond to you. And then they're just saying, like, we don't recognize this information, and or the creditor decided to tell you that this information is accurate and we verified it, that it belongs to you and stuff like that. Now, listen to the verbiage, right? They say this belongs to you, but if the question wasn't necessarily about it belonging to you or not, but rather, why is the information misleadingly reporting? they have to, they haven't really specified an answer to that. Really, they failed to respond to your question starting with that, right? So that's one of the biggest things that we have to learn to tackle. So that's the first element of dealing with these credit bureaus. Now, I know it's quite lengthy, but pay very close attention to that, because the next few points, it's going to help us even further, because we're going to strategize on how to take this to the next level. Now, we know that, obviously failure to respond within a predetermined time frame is the violation of the FCRA, but sometimes I've seen, customers tell me, hey, it's been 3 months, they haven't responded, 4 months, they haven't responded, and these things are dragging on and on. So what do we do about that, right? So first and foremost, you have to have documentation ready. It gives you the leverage and the tools that tell you that, hey, look, there are certain things that we have to understand that we're entitled to. Number one, you have the right to a response from the credit reporting agency. They have to respond within 30 to 45 days, like I said. But if they fail to do so, what do you do in that instance? Well, obviously you write back to them, certified mail, notarized documentation, second notice on the top, copy of the original letter that you sent them, and say, look, all this type of stuff, and it's been 30 days, and therefore the information that I've included in my first letter, due to your failure to respond to that, I'm entitled to get those negative items removed from my credit reports, and if ever re-added, there's an obligation for the creditor to notify me within 5 business days of it being posted back that the negative item has been put back, and here is the exact reason as to why. So those are some of the things that you absolutely need to know so that you can leverage this information and knowledge and be well prepared to go ahead and move forward with that. Because again, evidence is key to a successful lawsuit. Again, if you have all these type of things and you show evidence and you certified mail and you notarize the documentation and so on and so forth, what happens is if they were to take you to court and if they say, well, a certified mail doesn't prove anything, but a witness, a notary, a certificate of oath under somebody who is eligible to give you a notarized service, witnessing your signature on the documentation is more than enough evidence. You see what I'm saying? Because that is clue that this was sent. You understand what I'm saying? And if you have the certified mail numbers and return receipts and everything, you include that in your document prior to even, packaging up the envelope and sending it, we have a little bit more weight that you can work with, which is a great leveraging point for you, because this is going to be the tool that you can use. So don't forget about that. So that's one of the second points that I want to mention. So again, have the strategy ready to fight them and to have the information that we can leverage to fight with them. A, you failed to respond. Here's the original copy, certified mail, return receipt, notarized document. And if the creditor is added back, they have 5 days to notify me that they're going to add it back. If they fail to do so again, they can't, because that's violation, and therefore they're not allowed to report. So you know your game. You know the Fair Credit Reporting Act rights, rules, and what you're obliged to. Well, obviously what's owed to you, right? What you're entitled. So these things are a necessity, because if these are things that are afforded to you by law, and therefore you have to learn to put that verbiage and language and communicate that to the credit reporting agency in addition to the creditors if necessary, to let them know that you know what you're talking about. So these are key elements that we need to include to make sure we have a lot of success. Now, one of the biggest things that I like to do when it comes to helping customers understand the concept of challenging and or disputing the proper way is what I call the rabbit hole technique, right? So the rabbit hole technique is very simple. As you look at an item that is injurious, bad, misleading, inaccurate, whatever the case, and you look at the information, you see, okay, there's a lot of content there that doesn't make any sense. Specifically, if you look at the dates very carefully on all 3 credit reporting agencies, you'll notice slight difference, right? Date open, date of last activity, and so on and so forth. You'll notice that some of the amounts, including the balances, may perhaps differ as well. You'll notice that the information about the type of creditor they are differ. You'll notice that sometimes the minimum payments are a little bit off. And more importantly, the 24-month payment grid that you have usually on the bottom, all of the components of that payment grid are scattered all over the place, which indicates to you right off the get-go from observation and evidence right there that they're not complying to the rules and regulations of complete and accurate reporting. Therefore, they're not following the rules that govern eOscar, right? That's the first thing, right? And the rules that govern the Fair Credit Reporting Act and what accuracy standards are. So if they're not following these things, the rabbit hole technique allows you to go deeper into those negative items and specifically list out the errors and go deeper and deeper and how much damage it's causing you. Because this is the most important thing in terms of weight and substance. If ever, like I said, we decide in everything we've done so far is to prepare a very wonderful case that has a lot of weight and substance for us to benefit from if we were to go ahead and sue the credit reporting agency. So these things are necessary. So that's where the rabbit hole technique is a very powerful tool. You have to learn to dig deep. You have to learn to analyze. You have to learn to document evidences, ask the right type of questions as we need to, so that we can have the most amount of success when it comes to getting the results that we need to get our credit fixed. So I want you to just pay attention to those elements because it's going to help you naturally understand some of the rules and regulations of how to report properly, but also at the same time, clearly define the mistakes, clearly define evident errors on the report, factually speaking, right? Not just misleadingly, but factually speaking, and how the creditors are even permitted to continue reporting such misleading and inaccurate data that has been demonstrated under purview of the Fair Credit Reporting Act and sent to the credit bureau, highlighting specific mistakes, yet they decide to ignore that. So that's not enough for them to back on. You see what I'm saying? So you have to learn to wait as much as you possibly can and have a lot more substance to your credit reporting disputes so that they have a lot more weight to get the results that you're looking for. But I'm going to finish off with one more tool. This is a bonus strategy that I want to share with you guys because I believe if you leverage this concept, it's going to help you the most. And this is the key of two things. Number one, preparation, and the second thing is organization, right? So far you learned from start to finish that whatever we decide to do with the credit reporting agency, it's as though we were going to file a lawsuit. But organization is also a very key component outside of preparation that, okay, now I prepared myself. I know what I have to do. I know my rules and regulations. I know what I have to do when it comes to following up if they fail to respond on time. I know what some of the things I have to do, including the rabbit hole technique, in order to identify individual items and the mistakes that are commonly showing across all three bureaus, and comparing and contrasting that and documenting that so that I can better prepare myself in order to fight those negative items. But organization also means that you have to learn what are some of the next steps before they even happen, and anticipate that in not only your mind, but be willing and able to execute those steps if anything happens. Because one of the biggest things is a lot of people delay the inevitable, right? So let's say if they get a response, they don't know what to do. They wait a few months and then they dispute again. The problem is if you give it this much time and you got a response, the credit bureaus can simply say, well, because you haven't responded on time, you've decided to accept the information, and therefore you cannot just come after us because you had plenty of time to do so. What happened in between that time? So you have to learn to execute right off the get-go. Don't wait, get organized, but get organized in a sense that you know the next steps and you're able and willing to exercise those next steps if necessary to go ahead and push yourself forward to get the results that you're looking for, because that is a very important element to getting the results. That is a very important element to protecting yourself and to creating the outcomes that you need to get the best type of results possible when it comes to credit. So I hope this information in the video helped you guys out. And if it did, help me out by smashing that thumbs up button, because it'll help me get the distribution out there so that other individuals such as yourself can see this video, hopefully, and get some sort of clarity and direction in reference to their credit repair journey, I hope. And with that said, if you haven't joined the Insiders member, there's private videos that I've posted in the members group, in addition to 2 private live streams a month that I do with the Insider members that add more content and education to help you learn further. And also check out the Ultimate Personal Credit Mastery 3.0 with more advanced content and knowledge about how to fix your credit, how to understand personal finance like you've never seen before. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoy. Once again, if you have a specific comment about the steps we discussed in this video, go ahead and leave a comment below so that we can have a discussion. And with that said, this is definitely your guide and mentor, Alito After. Catch you guys on the next one. And bye for now.